ChadArmesTV, we're back with another interview, man, and we've got the Florida legend himself, FJ Outlaw. What's up, dog?
Coolin', how you doing?
I'm good, bro. So we're all of us are in the Nashville area currently because we're doing the collab stuff. Some people are passing through, but we're just getting a bunch of interviews knocked out, and this is definitely one people have been asking about for a while. So I'm glad to be able to sit down and do it. So we'll just get right into it, dude. So born and raised in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to speak about like what part? Like what?
Yeah, I'm originally from, well, that's a hard question for me, dog, because like I was born in Tallahassee, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved to like Port St. John, so basically Brevard County. I spent most of my life in Brevard County out there
Yeah,
near, Cocoa, Melbourne.
yeah,
Basically Florida, I feel like all of Florida is just Florida. It's the mullet of America. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
What was it? What was life like growing up there?
uh, here's my question: is how in depth can we get into that? Because it's pretty fucked up.
It's up to you. It's up
All
to you,
right,
but yeah, it's up to you.
I grew up in a trailer park that was on a street called Camp Road,
Mm-hmm.
right next to the county jail. I believe I was 7 when I saw my best friend's neighbor burn to death. So that was the first time I seen somebody burn.
You were how old?
7.
Oh God. Man.
I was 9 when our neighbor to the left got in an argument with his buddy over who was going to get the next case of beer, and he hacked him up with a machete and then ran down the road butt naked, covered in blood, screaming, "I just killed my best friend."
Oh,
So it was not necessarily the greatest place to grow up, I feel like. I mean, life's about perspective. I made it out, so we're doing fucking great,
That's. I mean. Oh man.
I was the youngest kid in the neighborhood, so I learned to fight real quick,
Yeah. Did you? How early on was music a thing? As far as like, was before you was rapping? Was you just listening like music and influenced by it before?
Music's really all I ever cared about, bro. Like I was raised in the 90s, so like you didn't have to do good in school. You just kind of had to be a little asshole and they would just like push you along. You know what I mean? So they didn't have to deal with you the next year.
Yeah.
All I really ever cared about was like fucking music. I'd like beat on my desk with pencils. And like my mom had a hatchback fucking Ford Mustang, and she got me a pair of drumsticks from the pawn shop. And I beat her dashboard to death riding around with her, just fucking booing. Like I thought I wanted to be a drummer when I was a kid, So there was some kids that also lived in the trailer park. They were older, and they like had the idea to like start a band. So, but even before we were poor, so we couldn't afford instruments. So like I had hockey sticks, and we took fucking thumbtacks and put them in the hockey sticks and fucking stretched rubber bands around them, like.
Yeah.
To be like the guitar.
Right.
And then we'd fucking have like pots and pans, like beat on them bitches with my drumsticks. You know what I mean?
Just made something happen with whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So then my first guitar that I ever got, my parents got for me, my mom and my step-pops got for me. I think it was my 7th or 8th birthday, but they gave it to me like a week early. So, and this is crazy because it's like 20 stories for one, whatever. But my birthday is the day before Christmas. Up until my grandma died, we would go to her house as a whole family on my birthday to celebrate my birthday and family Christmas. So they had given me the guitar a week early, and I wanted to bring the fucking guitar with me to Christmas, but my stepdad didn't want to hear that fuckery. So he was like, "All right, I'll make you a deal, bud. If you can figure out how to play Happy Birthday for yourself, I'll let you bring it with you." And they said I went back to the room for about 7 minutes and came back out. And he was like, "Oh, fuck." So that's kind of where it started with me.
Yeah. So when it comes to like rap music, when was that something that you started to want to create, or was it like during teenage years, or was it like a little after that?
It was like mid-teenage years, right? But I never thought it would be a possibility, bro. That was never really. My dad was in like a country band, and they played at the Grand Ole Opry and shit like that before he got in an accident. But yeah, I don't think it ever registered with me that I could be a musician. But I loved music so much that I feel like my whole life, subconsciously, I kind of like, not realizing it, just studied everything I love about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then like mid-teen years, I was over at a buddy's house and he was listening to this CD of these dudes rapping. And I was like, where are these dudes from? And he was like, Melbourne. And I'm dumb, so I was like, Australia? Because in my head, there's no
That's what
way
I,
that some
right.
dudes from the next town over could be making music that sounded like this. And he's like, no, they're from Melbourne, like the hood over in university and shit. And in my head right then, I was like, damn, if they could do this, I could do this shit. Like, there's no reason I can't do this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think the first verse I wrote, I found an instrumental CD that had the Nuck If You Buck beat on it.
Oh wow.
And I rewrote the fucking female's part. What was her name? Gangster Boo? No, not
Oh,
Gangster.
Diamond.
Diamond.
Yeah,
Diamond.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Gangster Boo was with 3-6 in it. It
yeah.
was Diamond. And I rewrote her part. And I was at like a house party with my buddy. And he came out back and I was sitting there and I was like, I wrote a rap song. He's like, the fuck you didn't? And I was like, yeah. And I had the paper folded up in my pocket, dog. And I pulled it out and he's like, rap it for me. And I did. And I remember he looked at me, he's like, you didn't fucking write that. And I was like, yeah, I did. And he's like, all right, cool. He's like, you want to be on my CD? And I was like, fuck yeah. Cause he was like the first person I ever knew that like kind of had a name like around
Right.
like locally.
Yeah.
And so my whole music career, I guess, was ass backwards. Like normally people make music with their friends, like in the fucking closet studios.
Mhm.
My first time I went to a studio, I walked in this fucking building, bro, and it was like a fucking professional studio.
Yeah.
So I remember I got in the booth and I rapped my verse. I used to rap fast as fuck for real.
Mhm.
And I remember I spit my verse and I saw the dude in the control fucking at the control station like do a double take. And that's when I was like, oh shit, I might be doing good. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then after that, I mean, you know, I didn't really ever care to learn anything else for real. So that's just what it's been ever since.
Right. And what year would this have been? Do you remember? Like it would have been, I guess,
Like the studio,
like when that started
fuck,
being a thing.
like maybe I'm dumb with time, dog.
Yeah.
So maybe like 2006 or
Okay.
7, maybe.
That would make sense because like that's around
Something
that
like
time,
that.
a few years after like Nuck If You Buck and all that was a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and then you just said this is what once you started, you got that like taste of the studio and all that. That's kind of when you're like, I just want to do this now. And was it an escape for you too? Being
Yeah, well, for sure. But also, like, not, it was like, this is what I want to do, but I don't think I had a concept yet that, like, it could ever be something that I fucking survived with, if that makes sense, bro.
yeah,
So, like, I was still hustling. I was, like, not a great human. Well, I can't say I wasn't a great human because I never did anybody wrong that wasn't a piece of shit. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
But I was out, like, you know, robbing dope boys and fucking hitting licks and all kinds of fucking dumb fuckery that I should have never been doing.
Yeah.
But that's the only way I really like knew how to survive because I was too stubborn to like get a job like a
Yeah.
normal human. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I just always stuck with music. It was just always something that I feel like was embedded in me.
Yeah.
So once I got older and made a little bit of money, I was just like, all right, well, it's fucking sink or swim now, dude. We're either finna do this shit or we're not, you know?
Yeah. And I know you said before, like too. Well, but the first album that you did, was the first album More Trash Than Hick that you released? Or was it
Yeah,
something
but
before
I
that?
did like, so the way it was explained to me when I started was we had to do an EP first
Yeah.
to then turn into the album. So the first one I really did was Shotguns and Whiskey, but I had been on other albums prior with my homeboys like that locally, but
Mhm.
Shotguns and Whiskey was the first time that I was introduced to and realized that what you would call now country rap beats existed. Like I didn't know that there were instrumentals just based off of a fucking guitar and some drums.
Yeah.
But the second I heard that, I was like, oh, this is it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the instrumentation and all that. Yeah, because again, man, like when I was always talking to Jeff, like it was kind of one of those things that just kind of started being a thing around around the time you probably started. Like
Yeah.
that's when it was like the infancy of it, and then it just started getting more and more popular. And now it's an entire genre of its own, really.
It's a culture, I feel like.
Yeah,
for real.
for sure. That's a better term, culture.
Mhm.
But early on, like for your first few albums, was it all stuff that you were doing yourself, or was you? I don't want to say signed, but like I know there's a lot of like independent labels and stuff like that. Was it something like that situation?
Yeah, so I was homeless, bro. But
Yeah.
so like I didn't have anywhere to live, dog. And I was like a drug addict at that point, to be honest, like
Mm-hmm.
completely transparent, bro. I tried cocaine once for like 3 years straight, and that was
Yeah.
not a good time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I was fucking homeless, bro, and I was with a label that was back when YouTube was paying decent per million, and I did that Hot Damn song, and it kind of took off for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting told there was no money when there was money, so I'm still out here fucking starving. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like still doing hood rat shit to try to survive.
You're not, and you're green to the whole. I guess the YouTube, like, because they were handling it. I'm assuming.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Well, not only that, I'm getting told there's barely any money being made, but there also has to be a recoup, not realizing that like they owned the studio equipment and everything. So you're essentially just charging me for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I was also in a situation where not only was I having to recoup money for beats and studio time that they were all doing in house, but I had signed a paper that technically they owned my masters as well.
Oh dang.
So it's like I'm paying y'all to take my music at this point. You
When
know
they're
what
not
I mean?
right, when they own
I
the
ain't got
equipment.
money for a fucking burger, a pack of cigarettes. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
y'all are fucking making all this profit off of me. So
Was that just the first couple of albums, or was it just like?
that was that was just the Shotguns and Whiskey, and then into More Trash Than Hick. And then around that time is when I met the dude who was my manager at the time, George, and George helped me. He essentially took out a loan and helped me like quote buy out of that contract.
Yeah, I think
So
when me and Squints had you on the podcast through like the Zoom or whatever, I think you spoke about that like
right.
a couple years back when we talked to you
Uh-huh.
about how he kind of came along and kind of got you out of that bad situation and kind of yeah.
Right.
And then after that, was it like those next few projects was through him? Were they better as far as that went?
They were better as far as creative control, I feel like, bro, because when I did Shotguns and Whiskey, I can't say I didn't have any creative control, but it was a situation like this. When we did Hot Damn, I wrote the hook, and I said, man, I want to go in the booth and I want to do like a 3/6 style, but I don't want you to chop it. I want to do it myself, but I wanted to be like, fat white boy, but brown boots. And they were like, it's fucking stupid. It's never going to work. And I was like, bro, just let me get this one. Let me do this fucking one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let me have all the control on this one. So they did. And that ended up being the fucking one off of those two albums that fucking really took off.
Was that the first? Well, I guess Hot Damn was Hot Damn the first one of yours that you started to see like, oh, this shit's really like taking
Yeah,
off a little
but the
bit.
crazy part is, bro, coming from where I came from and having nothing, and just the only thing I really knew was like, other than like fucking famous ass people, was local folks. So, bro, I remembered the song I did with the dude I was in a group in before that, before I knew country rap beats existed at all. We were doing like, just regular ass rap music. I remember when I hit my first 1,000 views with him, I thought I was the shit. He couldn't tell me nothing. I'm like, bitch, I got 1,000 views on YouTube. Fuck you mean? Now looking back at that, I'm like, bro, you were lame as fuck for that. You know what I mean?
Right, because
like,
you understand how it works.
And the magnitude of like, even now, bro, I pull decent ass numbers, but if you compare that to fucking Jay-Z, it's like, cool story, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that's cute.
Yeah.
Remember my first beer.
Like, yeah. So right. And over the years, like because you've been putting like you put out a lot of albums, bro. Like over the last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, you had the Christmas album.
Oh God.
So you've done like 15 or 16 albums, right?
I don't know. That sounds like a lot, but maybe.
Yeah, just counting on these projects that's on your Apple Music.
Right.
That shit's crazy, bro. So you started really seeing some traction like slowly, and then it just kept building, like locally or regionally, I guess.
Yeah, well, locally, I don't know if it would even be considered locally though. I mean, I had never really like toured or really been out of like state for music, but I feel like locally is a stretch, because never in my career has my fan base been like a local fan base. It's always been a far away.
Right.
Like my shit's real big in Australia, which is fucking weird to me.
Yeah.
Like, I get support here in the United States. Like, people will get my like autograph tattooed on them. Like, that's fucking dope to me.
Yeah.
But then when I get sent pictures of 5, 6 different dudes in Australia who ain't got the same fucking face tattoos as me, that's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Then I get tagged in a thing where some chick in Australia got my whole face blasted from here to here, like a portrait of me. Like, that's fucking insane. You know what I mean?
You think it's just, well, it's just because they're being able to relate to you, like the music that you're dropping too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like the way that it's because like listening to your catalog, like you're definitely like your music's matured, which naturally it should, like as you get older.
Right.
But especially now, like the pocket that you're in, where you're doing a lot more of like you're rapping, but you're doing a lot more like vocal stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like doing that as much, or
Absolutely?
Yeah, because you're going back to playing instruments like growing up and stuff. That was
well. My thing is, bro, I feel like I had to grow in. I had to mature and grow into the mind state because, you know, I've always liked shit like that, but it's like I never thought that I could do it, or if I do it, it's gonna sound like shit type mentality, you know. So it wasn't until I got to a level where I just didn't fucking care like what anybody else thought that did I really grow into the shit that I do now. Like, you're blaming on my egos and the hate that I just dropped. Like fucking 4 years ago, I'd have never even attempted that shit. You know what I mean? But now it's just like I had to really understand that I feel like in order to be successful, like I feel like everybody has this perception that you got to make music that the fans like, right? But the reason that my fans like my music is because they relate to me. So I have to make music that I feel and that I like for them to, in order for people to still relate to that. I feel like, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's a good way to describe that, because so many times, man, I've been guilty of it too. Like you get in this thing where you're trying to make something that you think everybody else wants to do, and a lot of times that's the ones that never do anything.
Well, and I also feel like it was a taught thing for me from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because really the first thing I ever did, I was like, quote, I can't call it, I mean, it was a local label. I was signed though, right?
Right.
So like I used to be one of those like fast rapping, like intricate, like punchline fucking bars, and they were like, bro, you need to dumb your shit down. And that was drilled into my head for fucking years. Dumb it down, dumb it down, dumb it down. So I had to, like, it's almost like, you know, once you do something a certain amount of times in life, bro, it becomes a habit, right? So you have to almost break that habit of what you think you know and go with what you feel you should do instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I bet you get asked, I'm sure you get asked from other artists like advice and stuff like that. What would you give? What kind of advice would you give to somebody that's just getting into, not even necessarily the lane that we're in, but just what just music in general?
The one thing I'm really bad at when it comes to the music business, right, is that the music business is just that, bro. It's fucking 10% talent, 90% business, right? And that's where I'm terrible at this shit, bro, because I had a habit most of my career of acting off of emotion, dog.
Yeah.
So my thing would be to keep your emotions out of it and don't fucking give up, dog. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And I think I told y'all in my original interview with you, bro, the only reason I even really kept with it is because I'm fucking petty. I was like, I'm going to do music. And everybody's like, yo, you'll never fucking make it.
Yeah.
Now I survive off of my music because you ain't going to tell me what I can't fucking do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Spite.
Like,
gang, gang. Just fat face Kobe and dirty saying.
That is true though, man, because I'm the same way as far as the business goes. I just love making music and I want to make music, but it's such a small part of it, unfortunately. So do you have a favorite song in your catalog? If you somebody wanted to hear your music for the first time, what would you suggest to them? Would it just depend on the mood?
Yeah, for sure. Because here's my thing, bro. My favorite song is never going to be your favorite song.
That's true too.
We're all individuals, right?
Yeah.
But my thing is also like all I really listen to is me or some shit that I would never like be in my mind capable of doing, right?
Like, yeah.
So like I'm never gonna be accepted in like a Pooh Shiesty lane. Call it what you want. I'm white.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear that shit from me, right?
Yeah.
So I'll bump either some really hood music or like some, bro, I love Olivia Rodrigo. I'm gonna say it. I don't fucking care. She's got a beautiful fucking voice. It is what it is, dog. I love music as a whole.
Yeah.
So my favorite song by me, anytime I make a new one, would be my new shit, because I feel like as an artist, if you're not progressing every time you cut a track, then what are you fucking doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would be hard for me to be like, oh, I think you should listen to, unless I really like sit down and have a conversation with that person and try to understand what mind frame they're in at that moment.
Yeah.
Like you could be like, hey man, I'm feeling kind of sad, bro. And I might be able to be like, okay, well go check out Relate.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
you could be like, I'm going through a fucking breakup. I could be like, man, go check out Blame It on My Ego or Hate That. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I don't know, if somebody just come up and was like, what song would you suggest? I'm like,
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I
pick
mean?
Just pick one.
Search the fucking catalog. You know?
Yeah. What would you say some misconceptions of you are?
Man, there's a lot. I feel like for real. Like, I feel like there may or may not be quite a few people in the industry that have bad things to say about me, right? But I feel like when people have those things to say, it's one of those. Have you ever seen the shit where people are like, everybody wants to blame you for how you reacted, but not talk about why you reacted that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a big thing with me. And that also goes back to where I said I used to act off of emotion a lot, you know?
Right.
So there's been a couple bridges that I have burnt and had to reconstruct or whatever you may call it over that. But I mean, I feel like that's a big thing. Just a lot of people think I'm a super asshole, right? And I feel like I can be at times, right? But so can you.
Right.
And so can she, and so can he. Everybody can be an asshole at times. I'm not always the asshole everybody perceives me to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like another misconception is a lot of people probably watch me on the internet and are like, there's no way he's like that in real life.
Yeah.
Absolutely the same person you see on a daily, you see on the fucking internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think a lot of that too is just everybody just, again, it's the internet has a lot to do with it because people see most of the people's only interactions with you or me are the internet because they may not ever get to meet us or see us at a show or whatever.
Right.
So that's just what their definition of us is because that's all that they can. It's tangible, you know.
Right.
But like, I see what you're saying with that too because it's definitely something, and everybody goes through ups and downs, bro, and everybody also makes mistakes and stuff like that.
Right.
What do you? Because you've been putting out a lot of music here recently. Are you still just going to be dropping like consistently like this with singles and albums and stuff like that?
Well, my thing is, bro, I feel like I've been again taught that you have to drop an album and push singles, right? Mm-hmm. But I also feel like nowadays, because of the internet, all that shit's changed. Like we're not in the fucking 80s anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like I like from here forward, I want to try and just push singles for real.
Yeah.
Just drop consistent singles. But where it's confusing to me is, you know, a good friend of mine, Dusty, had told me a while back, man, you need to be dropping a music video every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. He's like, bro, it'll be great for you. And I did that. But what I feel like happened is it's not huge by any means, but I have a core fan base, bro. I have damn near a cult following, bro, of people that I love just as much as they love me because they changed my life. But I feel like what happened is when I was dropping every 2 weeks, they knew, okay, well, we can expect another video in 2 weeks. We can miss this one and we'll just go watch it later. And then just like with anybody in life, you get busy and you forget. So I feel like when I was dropping every fucking 2 weeks, my shit like kind of slowed, the engagement slowed down a little because it was just like, oh, he's going to keep dropping.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? So I feel like I want to keep dropping singles, but I also understand, I feel like that I should probably have a larger space in between when I do that.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, if I like pizza, but I got a fucking pizza shop right next door, I'm not going to eat pizza as much as I would if I had to fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you had to wait for it, or yeah, for sure. That's true though. I didn't even think about that too. That makes sense though.
Yeah,
because it makes people miss it a little bit.
Yeah,
and you're still staying relevant, you know. But it's just not. It's not so much. Yeah, that's a lot of music. That's what I'm fixing to be doing too.
It is a lot, bro. Yeah, for sure.
But this has been dope, bro. And this was something that I wasn't even expecting to do. So I'm glad that we got to do this because we're kind of just in passing because everybody's coming in and out of the city with this collab album that Adam and them are doing. So this was cool to be able to do. Do you have anything that's coming up here in the future as far as like a new single or anything like that?
I've got a few, man. I've got a couple videos I've already shot that I just haven't dropped yet, just due to the fact that I feel like it's the end of the year, and you know
Yeah.
how that is with the industry. So I'm probably gonna wait till the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But I got a song called "Hurt People" that I'm about to put out beginning of the year, and I think I'm hoping it'll do very well. I feel like it's gonna relate to a lot of people.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then you and Dusty just y'all dropped a single a couple of like about a month ago or so, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you
Dusty would love.
Come on,
And then you-
catfish.
Love.
I love Dusty, bro. The
Love.
I know you do. The but then you just did that. You and Dusty did the song with Jamwayne too, which was dope. I was
Yeah.
glad to see y'all be able to collab on something.
Right.
But it's just been dope, man. To sit here, we've all been sitting here chilling and shooting the shit, and I'm glad we was able to do this, and I'm sure we'll end up linking up again and talking more.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate you, bro. And
I appreciate y'all, man, very much.
for sure, y'all be sure to go subscribe to him, man. We'll put all the links in the description. FJ Outlaw, ChadArmesTV, son.
Yeah.